Okay, I'm going to take a brief diversion away from the project I was already working on because I came across something that I think that most of you out there would, I don't know, nowadays in this whole PC age of you can't say anything that'll offend anybody, or you have to show sensitivity and tolerance and all this other mess. And of course that's part of the what my main project that I'm currently working on right now is delving a lot into. There's a lot of these issues about whether or not it's appropriate to criticize somebody and to offer alternative perspectives and points of view against the wave of this whole liberal inspired you can't say anything to offend anybody, or you can't present certain factual information that runs counter and contrary to the established what they call it, conventional wisdom and all this other mess. And in searching for some additional multimedia for this current project that I'm working on, I came across this blogger's website where it's kind of like more of the same, where it kind of puts us in a situation to where we really have to ask ourselves, how real are we being with ourselves in relation to how we respond to people in the so-called other category, those who are less abled, or those who are quote-unquote different from us, or whatever the heck is involved, when it relates to things that we generally have a certain amount of control over. And what I'm going to do, instead of just rambling around and offering my perspective on a thing, and of course if anybody's listened to me long enough, they pretty much already know what my take either is, or clearly what it would be in a situation like this. But I want to throw this out there because I just want to get a sense of how many people really understand what this person is trying to say, what he's talking about. And of course you're free to offer anything as far as well, he's overlooking certain things, or he hasn't made any concessions for considerations of other particular things that might help explain this, that, or the other, whatever. But just so that we can kind of get a sense of where the frustration comes from and why there's, and I call it a hidden backlash actually, as opposed to, because again, anytime anybody says anything which is unpopular, they tend to lurk in the shadows more or less, or they speak to a secure audience, let's say, rather than being free with their perspectives and their points of views and trying to offer some insight as to the bigger picture. Because again, the word is unpopular, and anything that's not popular gets attacked, gets eviscerated. You get called out of your name. You're accused of being everything from a hater, a xenophobe, to this, that, and the other. And for a lot of people, it's just a matter of, I'll just keep my opinions to myself. But see, when that happens, nobody gets informed, regardless of whether the information is right or wrong, regardless of whether it's popular or unpopular. People need to stop being afraid of being allowed to have an outlet in order to explain themselves, in order to express what they feel are legitimate points of concern, and to open fresh and legitimate debate, as opposed to just setting themselves up for any sort of attack from anybody who just wants to, hate on somebody just because, oh, you don't believe the way I do, so you're a bad person. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to read this article, and I'll just set it out there for whatever anybody else thinks it is, and whether anybody wants to comment on it or not, it's not all that relevant. But I would like to see at least some feedback, or get some idea of what others think about this, just to get a sense or get a feel of whether or not anybody's actually willing to give this person a little bit of consideration, as far as perhaps he might be making a few legitimate points, or if he's overlooking certain things or certain aspects as to what might be something where he should be a little bit more, if I should say the word again, tolerant. So at that, let me just stop rambling, and I'll just read verbatim the entire article that he posted, which he had dated as 2009, February 21st. And I'm just going to go ahead and start reading. The title of his blog is "Willful Misconduct is Not a Disability." And to quote the text, "I'm sick and tired of fat pigs taking up space in disabled parking slots and cruising around in those motorized wheelchairs." Subheading: Challenge the fake disabled. In this age where nobody is responsible for their own actions, willful misconduct is ignored, and losers of every type now claim to be victims. Drunks, alcoholics are blameless victims of a, quote, disease, unquote. That's crap. Fatties, morbidly obese lardos who eat 8,000 calories a day claim to be victims of, quote, glandular conditions, unquote. That's hogwash. Take any of these gross fat pigs and put them in a concentration camp, and they will be slim in no time. It's simple physics. Stop feeding the pigs and they lose weight, gland condition or not. I've had enough of this victim mentality, and I'm not very PC when I confront the fake disabled with suggestions that if they stopped being a glutton, then perhaps they might not need a wheelchair. When I see these fat balls of human crap clogging passageways, I go out of my way to be intolerant of them. It's not so much that they are disgusting, but that they think that people are stupid enough to believe that their own willful misconduct somehow qualifies them as truly disabled. If these sloths want to eat themselves into a wheelchair, that's their business, but they should not have a right to claim disabled status. There are enough real disabled people out there without lumping in idiots who eat themselves into a wheelchair. Obesity is not a disability. Let's call it what it is: willful misconduct. Ending quote. So, I don't know. What are your suggestions? Does this man have a point? Or is he and other people like him correct in just remaining lurking in the shadows for fear of being called all sorts of intolerant names or whatever? Because part of what my current series that I'm working on, it reflects something similar to where the issue really comes down to personal character, and these arguments about how every character flaw is automatically to be somehow placated as, well, it's a condition, or it's something that I was born with, or I'm just a victim of genetic circumstances or whatever. It's not my fault, or I'm not doing anything that's abnormal or unusual or anything. And I, for one, have just kind of gotten to the point where, well, I haven't gotten to this point because I've been at this point for many years. But again, the problem is that when you speak up, you get attacked. Never mind how many logic bombs you throw out, no matter what argument or how many different ways of trying to look at the whole cube to try to get every side of an argument, as long as it goes against the common theme of this touchy-feely, liberal-influenced society which says that you can't criticize anybody. Oh, there are no more stupid kids in school anymore. They're just underachievers. You know, then that's... I don't know, like I said, I'm just going to leave it at that, because I've made my point, I'm making my point, but there just aren't enough people who are willing to take an unpopular stand, present their arguments, and open themselves up for what they would hope would be rational and reasonable debate. But unfortunately, nobody believes in debate. They just believe in, you don't see things my way, so you're wrong, I'm right, and oh, by the way, you're a pile of shit because of it. And I, for one, am tired of that whole attitude and that whole mentality. Rather than discussing issues and just shoving people in front of the train just because they happen to believe something that you don't. So that's my deflection for the moment. Let me get back to what I was originally doing from the beginning. End of line.